grows and the 7 kingdoms become 9, become 12, become the new Valyria.
Hey there, House of the Dragon fans, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're talking about who might be killing the Gold Cloaks in King's Landing. Let's take a look. The last episode of House of the Dragon was not exactly a blockbuster, but the twist at the end made up for it. We already knew that the Gold Cloaks in King's Landing were being attacked and their bodies were left in a grotesque display. On top of that, they weren't being paid their wages, which made their connection to the crown complicated. However, Daemon, my boy, stepped in and encouraged the Gold Cloaks to keep fighting, despite whatever was happening. And it worked, because to them, Daemon was not just the rogue prince, he was their true commander. He was one of the best commanders the City Watch ever got, and for Daemon too, these people meant more than soldiers. They were his comrades, his allies. I can't fathom what Daemon Targaryen might be going through after finding the Gold Cloaks' bodies arranged on a table with their entrails laid out in a twisted Last Supper display, and among them was Sir Luther Largent. But the question is, with someone like Daemon around, who had the guts to kill his men? Well, that's what I'm doing today, finding out who might be slaughtering the City Watch.
The Targaryens are a savage race, poor in intellect but rich in cunning.
I know, the simple answer is it's Orland Hightower. Episode 5 established it pretty clearly. We saw this man who, if I'm not wrong, looked like one of the Hightower soldiers we've seen in the previous episodes communicating with Ormond. He tasked a pigeon to send messages to the Lord of Old Town, which read, "Gold blood spilled, 3 marked in the tally, the account lies open." Yes, Ormond is indeed the one behind the suspicious killing of the Gold Cloaks, and Daemon brought it up during the small council meeting when he said, "2 of our Gold Cloaks were found dead in the streets this morning, put to the blade by an unknown hand." He said it happened in Flea Bottom and looked really concerned, though Rhaenyra didn't think it was important enough to deserve Daemon's attention. She tried to send him to deal with Criston Cole and the guerrilla tactics he was using to slow down Team Black's advance toward Tumbleton, but Daemon firmly refused to leave until they had addressed the crimes committed against the City Watch, by saying, "They're my men." This suggests how deeply involved he was with the City Watch and the Gold Cloaks, and how crucial he believed they were to secure Rhaenyra's rule. When Daemon and Sir Luther went out to patrol the streets of King's Landing, Luther explained how the Gold Cloaks had their throats and bowels cut, and right then we saw it for ourselves. 2 more Gold Cloaks lying dead in a gruesome manner. Daemon and Sir Luther managed to capture one of Ormond's spies in King's Landing, and learned that it was him who was pulling the strings and paying them in gold coins with Prince Daemon Targaryen's face sculpted on it. And now we know Ormond has declared Daemon Targaryen the new king. See, Orland Hightower has been tirelessly working to weaken Rhaenyra's rule, and what better way could he have resorted to than showing the common folk that the Queen was not strong enough to protect her own City Watch? Of course, it will plant the seeds of anxiety and doubt about Rhaenyra's capability, because if the best soldiers of the realm couldn't defend themselves, then who are they before these unknown assassins? But there's another reason Ormond specifically targeted the Gold Cloaks. He knew how valued they were to Daemon Targaryen, and butchering his men would make him feel powerless and vulnerable. Now, Daemon is Rhaenyra's biggest supporter, and to be able to get to his head would be a huge win. That's exactly why Ormond decided to go ahead with this systematic violence. He's essentially trying to destroy Daemon's entire support system. These were the men he would spend days with before he became Rhaenyra's husband. And though he went away, Daemon's return kind of made him the commander of the City Watch all over again, because it's no longer just political anymore. It's become personal. The showrunner Ryan Condal explained, "It's to make them feel helpless and ineffectual and frustrated, and maybe goad them into making a mistake." His design at the end of the day is to make sure that nobody wants to be a Gold Cloak, and people are afraid to mount a defense in Rhaenyra's name. Moreover, till now, Daemon didn't even treat Ormond as the real threat. But now, with his Gold Cloaks being killed left and right, and the announcement of the new king, he's not so sure about it anymore. Condal stated, Daemon is feeling rather impotent to a degree. He's able to play whack-a-mole and chase around these sort of faceless villains in the city, but he knows the real villain, Ormond, is 60 leagues away, in a place where he can't yet reach him. And to an extent, the fact that Ormond is so far away is allowing his plans to work. And now Rhaenyra and Daemon will be grappling to strategize how to wage combat against an enemy they can't see. So we know the mastermind behind the atrocities and the reason too. But one question still looms large. Who exactly is carrying out these assassinations on Ormond's command? Sure, it may be the remaining Hightower soldiers in King's Landing, as I mentioned earlier, but after Rhaenyra took the throne, I don't think there's that many Hightower loyalists left in the city. Alright, let's say that Ormond is paying the small folk, maybe some people from Larys Strong's hidden network, to carry out the killing. Even then, the fact that they're this skilled to take out Gold Cloaks without anyone noticing them is a little hard to digest. No, I'm not saying they aren't good soldiers. What I'm trying to say is, with Rhaenyra as the new queen and Daemon looking after the City Watch, it seems a little far-fetched that they'll have that much courage. The other possibility is that the Faith is behind it. The Hightowers ardently follow the faith of the Seven, and we've seen Alicent going to the Sept several times. Moreover, the High Septon refused to recognize Rhaenyra Targaryen as the rightful heir to the throne, and refused to anoint her. He stated that he cannot do the ritual since he had recently anointed her half-brother Aegon II before all the people of the city, and argued that he could not legitimize Rhaenyra or perform another anointing until he was pressed with definitive proof that Aegon was dead. This brought Rhaenyra into direct conflict with the faith, and the High Septon did warn her not to make an enemy of the faith and said, "Underestimate it at your peril." He also made it clear that the faith looked at dragons as profane magic created in darkness and pride. Sounds pretty similar to what Ormond said about dragons, right? To quote, "The Targaryens are a savage race, poor in intellect but rich in cunning. With dark spells they created abominations to subdue what was rightfully ours." Now, historically, in Martin's work, the Targaryens followed the old gods of Valyria, before Aegon's conquest, who adopted the faith of the Seven as the strategic move. Some of the dragons have been named after the deities of old Valyria, like Vhagar, Syrax, Balerion, Meraxes, and Caraxes. From what we know about this religion is that it was lenient toward the Targaryens' practice of inbreeding, and that's where these royals clashed with the faith over and over again. For instance, when King Aenys I, son of King Aegon the Conqueror, and his sister wife Queen Rhaenys Targaryen arranged the marriage of his son Aegon to his daughter Rhaena, the High Septon was furious and declared Aenys an abomination and triggered the faith militant uprising. Over time, the Targaryens chalked out the doctrine of exceptionalism. It was Aenys Targaryen I's son, Jaehaerys Targaryen I, who sat on the throne after the death of his uncle, Maegor the Cruel, made a pact with the faith of the Seven in 54 AC to keep the continued practice of the Targaryens' incestuous marriages. The doctrine was chalked up by King Jaehaerys himself with the help of Septon Oswyck and Septon Barth. It stated that since the Targaryens were not like other men and that they were born in Valyria, hence, they had different laws and traditions and thus could marry brothers and sisters, unlike in places where the Seven's holy text declared inbreeding as blasphemy. Still, the faith was not exactly ecstatic about such marriages and believed the Targaryens practiced some occult ritual to breed dragons. The Hightowers, on the other hand, have been intricately related to the faith of the Seven. In fact, Lord Daemon Hightower was one of the very first lords in Westeros to accept the faith, and the family even constructed the first sept in Old Town. Ever since, Old Town served as the spiritual capital of the religion for centuries, and was the home to the Starry Sept and the High Septon. In fact, while the doctrine of exceptionalism was being drawn, King Jaehaerys Targaryen made sure to get Hightower support. He and Queen Alysanne flew to Old Town, where according to Septon Barth, they reached an agreement with Lord Donald Hightower. It stated that in exchange for House Hightower's backing of the king's doctrine of exceptionalism, Donald would support Alfen's appointment as the new High Septon. Jaehaerys also assured Lord Donald that since Alfin was already old, his eventual successor would come from House Hightower. After becoming High Septon, Alfin and his descendant formally established the doctrine of exceptionalism as an official clause of the faith of the Seven. And one of the best guesses is that this long-standing religious feud has allowed Orland Hightower to use the faith's people in King's Landing to murder the Gold Cloaks. Once again, the question of anonymity comes up, and I don't think that the people of the faith can gut people this easily without being noticed. So, what's the option? It's possible that the faith has been turning Rhaenyra's subjects against her in secret, and even if someone noticed something, they chose to keep quiet because many commoners, too, now believe the Targaryens are not a natural race. Last but not least, I have a really interesting headcanon. See, none of this murder mystery, which has the backbone of the Unbowed and Unbent episode, has been written by Martin in the original book. The psychological warfare is completely an original invention of the show, and I guess the makers are slyly playing with a mythology tie-in that the book doesn't have. The strongest theory is that the Faceless Men have been involved and that the idea did not pop out of nowhere. Think about it, the unexplained killings, no one citing an assassin, that means the killer has to be that good and trained, and we know for a fact how organized the Society of Faceless Men is. This guild of assassins was based in the free city of Braavos, and for a price, they would agree to kill anyone and considered the contract to be a sacrament of their god. If this still doesn't convince you, let me bring in some more clues. The Braavosi coins. These coins had a distinct value in the Game of Thrones universe for having a secret credential rather than money. Ormond did something very similar. He minted coins with Daeron's face on them to elevate his public image and buy loyalty. Now, let's consider the Iron Bank of Braavos' refusal to grant a loan to Rhaenyra, and Larys' secret stash of gold. Yep, taken together, they're actually pointing towards the Faceless Men being involved in the murders of the Gold Cloaks. We've seen how proficient and formidable the Faceless Men are. Jaqen H'ghar effortlessly killed the Tickler and Sir Amory Lorch for Arya, and we've also seen how Arya trained herself to become a member of the Faceless Men. She baked Walder Frey's two sons, Lothar and Black Walder, into a pie, which she fed to him before killing him. For some reason, I feel like the visual imagery of what Daemon saw seems somewhat reversed but reminiscent of this. Alright guys, that's all for today. Honestly, I found this creative decision to be pretty interesting, and it actually matches the tense narrative which House of the Dragon is building. Striking Daemon indirectly will definitely call for retaliation, and I can't wait to see how the Rogue Prince reacts. Jump into the comments below and let us know your thoughts and share your theories. And if you liked the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!